Hello and welcome. This is the first episode of a Podversation with. I'm Josh Paladini. Yeah, man. First episode features the very funny, very talented Chris Crespo. We talk about a lot of cool stuff. So, yeah, man, let's get right into it.
So, now we will start the actual interview process.
Woo! Interview!
You know, this is like...
Do we have a jingle?
I don't know.
You should have a jingle.
I'm probably going to have some stuff.
You should
probably
definitely
have some production and stuff. To be honest, I'm like very disappointed that this mixer is so noisy because, like, I really wanted to have a very high fidelity podcast, and this is not. It's not going to sound bad, but like, it's not going to sound perfect. So I'm trying to get over that, but it's cool. I'll hopefully find a way around it, or I might look into a new mixer. But I don't know. I might have the same problem with a different mixer. But that's neither here nor there. What is here and there is did you always want to be a comic? This is okay. This is an important thing. All right, let me just address the thing about this podcast is this. This is what inspired it, right? Do you want some water?
Sure.
This is what inspired it. Was that I've talked to a lot of comics, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it, dude. And I was very surprised to find that a lot of comics were not. There was three things, and this really doesn't actually include most of the comics that I want to have on the podcast. But a lot of comics are not fans of comedy.
Yeah, that's
meaning
weird.
that they don't watch a lot of comics. They don't know any Some people don't know many comics. Some people don't know any comics. A lot of them are just comics because they just do it, and you know what I mean. And then you know what I'm saying. Like they're good at it, or you know whatever it is. And then what was the other thing? Oh, is that a lot of comics don't understand like. Influences, or they don't think about influences, or they just don't think about their comedy at all. Like they just write jokes,
or
you know what I mean, or they just go up and tell stories. Like they don't think about
a greater
concept, or they don't think about like you know what I'm saying. Like it's basically it's like about like I just want to get to. Like there's several certain things that I kind of plan to ask every comic, you know, which is like, how do your influences influence you? Which I think is different because
that's just my question.
You know what I mean? Because like every comic that I like or would say is an influence, like a lot of comics that are my influences aren't even comics that I like. It's just the way that they approach comedy that I'm like, I'm going to approach this part of my comedy that. So. It's interesting to me to hear that stuff about comics. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about that kind of thing, you know?
Oh, no. Because most people want to do podcasts where it's just shits and giggles and stupid bullshit that they say it's serious comedy stuff, but it's not really comic-like structure. I don't like story comics. Because I feel like a lot of them rip off Billy Crystal and John Leguizamo and Whoopi Goldberg, but they don't really study those comics. They don't really study how they make something funny. Like, a joke is all about the surprise. Like, the bigger the surprise and the misdirection you can give to a joke, the more laughs you're going to get. And the problem is with the stories, is like, stories are like, they'll say like, but it actually happened. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. Like, no one's going to care that in real life this actually happened to you. What people are going to care about is if it's funny. And you only got 1 minute to win over the audience. And if your joke is, I remember I went on a show, and this this woman went on stage and she told a story about how she took cat shit and put it into a plum. But she took, and that was her whole joke, but it took her 12 minutes to say this stupid shit joke. And she was like, well, because I'm Puerto Rican, it's like, I don't care if you're Puerto Rican. Like, I'm Cuban, and I don't, like, that doesn't, you're already on my shit list. But it's like, why on earth would you, like, try, like, why would you try and copy John Leguizamo? Like, that pissed me off. Like, first off, you're not John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo is way funnier, way better, he knows what he's like, the thing that makes John Leguizamo is not because he's Hispanic, it's because every one of his stories has a premise, setup, punchline. The same thing with Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg, who are his idols. A premise, setup, and punchline. And they're all misdirection. They're all like, and there's a big surprise in every one of those stories. But people, they just say, oh, I could tell stories on stage. Yeah. And they don't think that with telling a story that there needs to be humor. They just think that I can inspire people to do things. It's like, no, you're at an open mic
or
in
they
a
just think
basement.
It's funny just because of the circumstance or whatever. They don't understand that they have to be funny.
Yeah, and I know a lot of Puerto Rican people that are funny, by the way. It's just that the fucking... I hate it when a comic just copy and pastes a formula. It doesn't matter what that comic is or who that comic is. It's just... I hate copy and paste people so much. It just bothers the fuck out of me. It really kills me. Because it's like, you didn't even try. And the fact that you didn't even try proves that you're just lazy. And that gets me so angry. Because it's like, I can't deal with that shit. I just can't. I can't. Because it gets me so mad.
Alright, so... did you always want to be a comic?
What's funny is that I started out trying to be a filmmaker. Like, when I first started, like, in the entertainment industry, I started out as a filmmaker. And I had a rough road trying to be a filmmaker, trying to get my films into festivals and stuff. Then I thought, alright, I want to write a novel. So I wrote a novel, and the novel didn't do well. And so I was looking for a job, and 2012 was like the worst year of my life. And I was still looking for work, and I was trying to find money, and it was a really rough time. Like, that was like the darkest days of my life was in 2012. And one of the things that perked me up was that Comedy Central would put, like, stand-up comics at 9 in the morning. So you would look at a set from, like, you know, Chris Rock or, like, Louis C.K. or Sarah Silverman. And I would look at them and I'd be like, wow, that's really cool. And I would never feel like I could do what they did. But then they would put, like, amateur, like the B-level comics, the ones that were, like, they were good, but they weren't, like, at the level of, like, the others that I mentioned. And it was like, some of them would do good, and I would notice, like, pity applauses. Like, I would recognize when a joke didn't work, and the audience would just be like, ah, you know, it's just like, oh, that's pity applause. I wouldn't like that. And it was when I saw one of them get up there and, like, suck. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this was an old tape that they had, and I saw, like, a couple comics, and I just looked at it, and I was like, you're terrible. I can do better than you. And that thought literally was like, oh shit, maybe I can do it. But I didn't have the guts to go on stage. And then all of 2013, I bought a notebook, and I just started writing jokes. Whatever I thought was funny. I just wrote. But again, I didn't go on stage. So, like, I wrote for a year, just jokes that I thought, things that I thought were funny. And then finally, the one that, the day that I was like, I had the courage to do it, was my brother went to a comedy show, and he saw a lot of comics that were just tanking. And he turned over to and he told me that he turned over to his girlfriend and said, Chris has better jokes than any of these people. And immediately I was like, okay, now that my brothers believe in me, I have the courage now to get up there and do it. So I I went to Gotham Comedy Club classes with Jim Andrinos, and I wanted to learn the craft, because every time with any artwork, I always want to know the craft. I always want to know the rules of the craft. I always want to know the do's and don'ts. And Jim focused a lot on stage presence and performance style of the joke. He wasn't very much into the writing, but he was very much into the stage presence. Like, he taught me, pan around the room, tell a joke all around the room. Don't just focus on one area. Don't lean back on a joke. Lean forward. You know, if you're gonna do a dirty joke, lean forward. Have the confidence to say the joke, even if it's dark or scary. Like, you want to be able to have that. Never crawl, never lean back. Never use the wall as a safety. Like, there's a lot of comics. I saw a comic recently that he was just up against the wall, and he would just tell his jokes, but he was up against the wall, like he was terrified, like we were all going to come at him, you know. And it was like, I feel bad for those guys, because they all want to, they tell their jokes, and this guy had good jokes, but it was just like, he was just like, you know, like, oh God. I was like, come on, guy, get off the wall. And he would always go after, he would always try and figure out what were problems with the performance, like hands in the pockets, playing with the mic cord, saying all the time, and all that stuff. He wanted that out. He wanted to rip that right out of you. And it got me enough courage to do a set and Laughing Buddha, and I did it, and that's when I met you guys. It was just constantly going to Buddha and doing open mics and testing shit out, and it was a lot of fun. I've never had so much fun in my life. And I have to tell you, comedy really saved me, because I was in a dark place in the times, and stand-up comedy and doing this stuff actually really saved me, and I loved it. Cool. I love comedy a lot.
So, how many brothers do you have?
I have two. They're younger, so I'm the oldest.
Okay.
But we're all a year apart.
Oh.
So I'm 26, my brother's 25, and my youngest is 24.
Oh, right on. Yeah. So, so they're that's where you try all your stuff first, before you try it on stage? Or is it just, as it comes up, you'll tell them?
If I know a joke works, I won't test it on them. But if a joke's iffy, I'll test it on them, and I'll see what responses I get from them. Then if they're split, if one of my brothers likes it and the other one doesn't, then I put it on my set anyway, because ultimately I'm the deciding vote. Mm-hmm. But I take my vote out of it, and I leave my brothers to decide. And if both of them don't like it, then I remove it. I don't bother with it. If one of them likes it and the other one doesn't, I put it in my set, and I see how the audience treats it. Right. Because that's the deciding vote. Mm-hmm. Right there. Always is the audience. I never put... I love all my jokes, even the shitty ones that are just terrible, and you're like, fucking God. But the audience is ultimately the deciding factor of the joke.
Of course.
As much as I love, some of the worst jokes that I've put on stage, those jokes, I can't be in love with all my jokes. I can't. Because I have to have room. The way how I write jokes is kind of I'll structure stuff so that way, I'll love the joke, but after I get a tape of it, now, this is how I do it now, which is, I'll write a joke, I'll do a set, and if the joke tanks, twice out of 3 times, I'll remove the joke. But if the joke works, then I'll keep it in there. And so I'm building a set each and every time when I'm going on stage. But I'm always building towards a bringer show, because I want it to be on tape, mm-hmm. so I can put it on YouTube or anything like that. And then what I'll do is I'll erase everything. So I take the Louis C.K. approach,
right?
But I just do it right after a bringer show.
Yeah, your bringer is your special.
Yeah, the bringer is my special. That's the closest I'm going to get to HBO.
That's how I do it too.
And then I erase everything and I start from scratch all over again. And I've gone up there where I've written a set and I'm like, this is going to kill, and the whole thing is a disaster. And then I've gone up there where the whole set kills, and then it's like, okay. And that's when I'm a little lenient. Well, not a little lenient, but I'm a little like, okay, how do I keep this set from killing again? And every time when I'm thinking, well, I'm always thinking like a lot of like I told my friends and you and everybody else that's listening to this, is like, I'm up there. When I'm on stage, I'm thinking about 10 different things at once.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just thinking about the next joke. I'm thinking about, how do I present this joke? Do I stand upright? Do I slouch? Do I lean in like I want to talk to them like it's a secret? Do I shout this joke out like, oh man, do I hate people that call you and they're strangers and shit? And, like, I'm always thinking of how to present the joke in a better way so that the audience gets it immediately, and it makes me have less work. Because I've seen comics go up there, and some good comics, they'll go up there and they'll just say the joke. And the joke is good, but they don't, like, I had a friend of mine who had a really brilliant joke, and he wrote it like if he was angry, but he performed it like, it was just like, well, why can't we do this, and why can't we do that? And I'm like, oh, but you wrote it like you were angry, so get up there and really get pissed, like, why can't we succeed? Like, why can't we? And that brings out his frustration. And I told him that would bring out your frustration, that would make the audience sympathize with you, and you get the laughs will be a lot bigger because you're actually getting to them. The audience is relating to you, and that's the key. If the audience relates to you, immediately it's like you can do no wrong with them, and you can take them on rides and journeys no matter what. And I think that's what I'm trying to do, is like, I'm trying to get the audience to, like, that's the thing about the beer joke, that if you guys ever want to look up the beer joke, it's on YouTube with my full name. And the beer joke, the thing about the beer joke is that I'm taking you on a journey. I'm telling you that I grabbed this beer and I couldn't find a can opener, and nobody was able to help me, so I started jimmying it with the spoon. You're with me. Your hearts are there with me. And I'm stabbing at it. It took me 8 minutes to get this thing open. It wasn't even a good beer. It was like a Miller Lite or some cheap beer. I just really wanted it. And that line's important. And then I get to finally getting it open, and my brother's walking in. Well, finally getting it open, getting emotional about it, and in your head, and the audience's head immediately, when I say I got emotional about it and cry, they're like, it's because he's disabled, because he can't get the can beer open. And it's probably rough, and that's probably how it is for a lot of shit. And then my brothers give me the setup. Bro, why are you crying? And then I just turn to him and say, because I just realized I'm an alcoholic. And it's right there is the surprise. The surprise is there. It's getting the audiences with immediately. It's kind of like what my friend Keenan said, is like, if you get them to a point where they're fooled, so they either laugh, or they look stupid, and it's like, holy shit! The surprise is like gangbusters, man. It is so, like, I don't like write jokes without a surprise. Like, now it's like, what's the surprise? Like, I'm always looking for that, and that's more important to me, because then I know it works, like, structurally, and I can present jokes differently. Like, that's really the key to a lot of stuff. I know, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're not. I'm just wanting to see how. This is good. I'm having fun. It's interesting because I've never heard another comic actually talk about considering their. I mean, obviously delivery, in terms of
delivery's key
vocally, but I've never heard another comic talk about things like posture.
You have to.
And you know what I mean? Like the physicality in that way. It's interesting because now I'm going to think about stuff like that, about like, like that whole thing, leaning in, or just the way that I just position my body to say certain parts of a joke, and because it does definitely affect the impact now that I think about it, but I never have.
You tell a joke one way, and it might kill. You tell a joke another way, and it might bomb. And it's about learning what worked and what didn't. sometimes a joke works both ways. Sometimes a joke works by you just saying the joke. Like, why would anybody wear a helmet for skydiving? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Or it would work as if, like, you're curious, like, hey, why would anybody wear helmets when they're skydiving? Like, if you're, like, you really, like, the tonal shifts of the voice, it does impact the joke, you know? Mm-hmm. There's certain jokes that, you know, I have a joke now that I'm working on in my new set where I might try it out as if, like, I'm terrified of it's an alien joke, but the surprise is really funny. But I'm gonna try it out like if I'm scared of this UFO, and hopefully that sense of fear is gonna bring out more of a shock with the punchline, which is this, you know, because it's all about you want to take your punchline and you want to treat it like your ace in the hole, or your secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And all you want to do with the audience is hide the secret weapon long enough so that when you release it, it gets them to be so shocked or so, like, they're so flabbergasted by it that they become like they're with you and they're laughing with you. And I think that's the real key. But like for me, that's really more important than anything else. Like, that when I'm writing, the way that I write is I'll think of two things that are similar, and then I'll say, which one do I want to start with and which one do I want to end with? Like, I had a joke on my last set that I recorded, which was, I played this game recently where you get behind the wheel of a car and you drive recklessly for points. It's called Drinking and Driving. And like, the way how those two work, like, it's like everybody's always thinking, like, the first half is like everybody's thinking GTA, and then it's like, nope, it's Drinking and Driving. And it's like that kind of surprise and that kind of level where you can take two things, and it sounds complicated, but it's not, where you take two things that sound similar and you put them together, and if you can if that's the thing, if you can make that bridge long enough, then do it. If it has to be a 1-2 like a 1-2 kind of punch, then do it. If it's a 1-2-3, the better. I love stuff that is like, it almost sounds like the reason why I love the beer joke and the new one, the home movies joke, which I'll try, I'm not going to say it here, but I'll try it with the next stuff, is that I'm able to just slow the pace down to a crawl until finally I get you there. And then you start, like, realizing that I've built this whole bridge. I've given you all of this stuff that you're just like, wow, man, that's cool. Like, those types of jokes, I'm a big fan of, like, Louis C.K. and Chris Rock and Sarah Silverman. And their jokes are all about that. It almost sounds like a story, but it's not a story. Mm-hmm. It's basically premise, setup, and punchline. But they just slow everything down and they give you that misdirection, so that way when you finally nail the punchline, it's got a stronger hit than just something that's a simple 1-2 punch, or, you know, something that's quick, because you got them in the palm of your hands. And that's the most important thing you want, and when you're doing stand-up comedy, is like, you get the audience at the palm of your hands, and the words that come out of your mouth will affect them. Like, a lot of comics don't get it. They just get up there and they just start, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and ta-da. And they get a laugh, but they don't get the strong enough reaction. And the problem is that when you're up there, you have to sort of know you have the power to take their emotion. A person can have a shitty day on a Friday and may not want to be in the comedy club. And so you have to bring them, the way how you present yourself and the way how you present the joke is very important. Like, I have that mentality of, like, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to try and get the audience on my side. No matter what. Like, no matter what, I'm going to try and get the audience on my side. And I'm going to lead them in close enough for me, and I'm going to give them the surprise that they want. So I give them exactly what they want, but I love holding. It's kind of like a musician that holds a note, or a guitar riff or a drum solo that actually holds the audience for as long as you want them to, until you give them the release. And that's kind of like the same thing as stand-up comedy, which is you're holding them as long as you want to, and then you give them the surprise that will ultimately release them and they'll laugh. And that's very important, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. And even a simple, like, 1, 2, 3 joke, like, if you have, like, a joke, I'm trying to think of a regular basic joke, like, why did the chicken cross the road? It didn't, because it's chicken. It's like an observational joke. But that joke actually, that joke has a lot of structure, and you can play with that joke more. But other jokes, like, this is why I don't like story comedians. I'm not a big fan of impressions, and I'm not a big fan of story comedians, but the reason why I don't like those types of comics is that they kind of have the audience, but when you hold like, it's kind of like a musician that just keeps going with the solo, and you're like, all right, dude, I get it. You can play the guitar. Like, all right, I get it. You can tell me a story. Now, what's the point of this shit? Like, what is the point? And sometimes it ends so anticlimactic, like that shit in a plum joke, that I'm just like, ugh, you made me wait 12 minutes for that. That could have been a simple 1, 2, 3. I took cat litter and put it in a plum and called it a day. It's like, that didn't need to be 12 minutes. There's certain jokes that a lot of people just don't, like, this thing about story is, like, it's just, people sometimes just think, I gotta just tell a story on stage, I gotta tell my story on stage. It's like, well, I don't know you. Why would I want to listen to you? And then the thing that really irks me is when they start doing crowd work in the story. Like, have you ever, like, you ever had, like, parents that really don't like you? Well, let me tell you about my parents. And it's like, why would you give it's like, it's your time.
Yeah.
Like, why are you gonna give it to them? Like, I'm greedy with my stage time. It's like, it's my time. You don't say shit. You listen. The audience comes from the Greek word audit, or audio, that means to listen. I don't give a shit about what you have to say. And it's like, I'm very much like that. I'm very greedy when it comes to stage time. I don't, like, those 5 minutes are mine. I don't care about your day. I don't care about her day. I don't care about, like, I'm not, I tried crowd work once and it was a disaster, and I'm never doing that again. That was such a bad. I thought Keith Olbermann there was a guy that looked just like Keith Olbermann, and I was performing, and I thought, wait a minute, that can't be Keith Olbermann. And I turned, I was like, are you Keith Olbermann? Like, I just flat out said it. He's like, no. And I was like, oh, fuck. and I felt like such a shit face, because I was doing my set, and I just, like, that was the worst. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have stopped my set and been like, are you Keith Olbermann? He's like, no. And I was like, damn. And I just, like, and also,
that's all you said was just damn?
Well, I said, I tried to do a joke, which was, I didn't know, I thought ESPN let you off early. I was like, some stupid shit like that. And I hated it. I was so mad when I did the joke. I was like, God damn it, I should have just kept going and said. But it was just like, you saw a famous person. Like, you're gonna...
See, I think it would have been funny if you had just admitted to the crowd that you were just hoping that he was fucking Keith Olbermann. They probably would have laughed.
Yeah, but I'm never going to do crowd work. I mean, even if, like, there's, like, a small part of me that's like, maybe I'll try it again, but I'm so focused on my sets and everything and on my jokes that I'm like, I can't focus on, like, my brain is all about one thing, and it's all about giving the audience a better mousetrap, telling them a better joke. And that's more important for me than, how was your day? Like, I don't know you. You don't know me. Like, that just really, that bothers me. Because, like, also, that's another thing, like, why I don't like impressions. Is, like, people that do impressions, they don't set up or they don't have it as a surprise. It's just like, look what I can do. It's like, great. I can open a can of beer or a soda can with a spoon. You don't see me going up there on stage doing that shit. You know, I can do lots of things that people can't do. I can do a ton of things, but I don't want to go up on stage and waste 5 minutes of people's time showing them what I can do. It's like, ooh, whoop-de-doo. You could do a cartwheel. Like, I can give two shits. Like, give me a joke. I came here for jokes. You don't have them? Get the fuck off. Like, I don't care. And the thing with stories, too, that's another one. That's all vanity. That's all about me. But not understanding that you have to have something surprising or engaging that gets the audience to... You have to have a surprise. If you don't have a surprise, you've wasted your time. And you only got 1 minute to win them. Like, you have 5 minutes on a set. You have 5 minutes, but you only have 1 minute to win that crowd. You have 1 fucking minute. And if you can't win them in the first minute, you're not going to win them in the second, or in the third, or in the fourth, or your last minute. You're not going to win them. And a lot of people don't get it. They just think that I'm so lovable. No, you're not. I'm so different because of this or that. No, you're not. Give me the surprise that you need under 1 minute. Show me that you can tell that you can be funny in under a minute, and I'll follow you. Otherwise, you're just up there rambling, and people just don't get it. They just think that's okay because they saw Billy Crystal do it, or John Leguizamo do it, or Whoopi Goldberg do it, and they don't know, or they didn't study enough. This is what you were saying before about like comics that don't know any comics. Or they take little influences, but they don't really study them. You have to study your artwork. You always have to study the craft. If you don't study the craft, like I saw Cat Williams' stand-up on HBO Go. I like Cat Williams. I think he's funny. I know a couple people that don't, but I think he's funny. I think he's hilarious. And I watched the set, and I was like, wow, it's interesting. He does a lot of new shit that I think is... He's very good at doing observational humor. Because he always acts it out. Like, he did a joke recently about, like, you think the first game when Michael Sam plays is going to be like any other football game like you've seen on TV? It's like, you've never played football until you have a guy that's actually checking you out on the other side of the field. And the whole time he was just, like, pretending to be Michael Sam. So it's like when he sacks, he like, lines up against the line of scrimmage, and he uses the stool as like a quarterback as an example, and he just tackles the stool, and he starts humping the shit out of it. And then he gets off, and he just walks off. I was like, oh my god, that was great. But like, you see, like, that kind of stuff works so well because he's able to do that, and he gives you exactly what you want. That's the thing about observational humor. It's very tricky, right? Because there's no surprise there. It's just like, here it is, and hopefully you like it. That's always the scariest thing. Like, I'm one of those people that's like, no, I gotta hide that shit. I gotta hide it long enough so I can give them the curveball, because that's more important. I don't know. I like observational humor when it's done good, but sometimes it just falls flat.
Yeah.
And I'm scared of that. Like, I'm always scared of that. I mean, I shouldn't be, because I've had jokes bomb before, but it's like, it hurts. It hurts every time, because they're like your little babies that you give to people. They're like, nah, next. It's just like, oh, shit. Now I gotta go with another one.
So were you, like, into stand-up, like, when you were a kid, or?
I watched stand-up a lot, like, when I was a kid. Not so much. I mean, I started watching stand-up comedy when I was, like, in high school. And some of my friends in high school did do stand-up. And I was interested in doing stand-up. But it was, like, May or June, around the time when I found out. So I wasn't able to take the classes. But I wanted to learn. And the first, like, inkling of my friends doing stand-up was at a show in the school. Like, the school would have, like, stand-up show, and one of my friends bombed bad, and it was, he literally got off stage crying, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to bomb that bad. And it kind of deterred me from doing comedy in college. But then, you know, I had a rough patch after college, and I needed something that was bright and positive. And stand-up comedy was that sort of art form that I love. And I love stand-up comedy. I think it's the best. Like, if you're really shy, it's tough. But I think after you've gotten a few licks into you and you've tanked a couple of times, you're gonna know that, okay, it's not gonna kill you. I've bombed before. I bombed on my birthday. So, you know, that sucks, but it makes you stronger. Like, it doesn't deter me to bomb. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not gonna bother me if I tank. What's gonna bother me is if I tank and I don't make changes.
Right.
And that's going to bother me because that's going to be like, I didn't do the work to be better the next time. And that's what's going to fuck me up. And I hate doing that. I always go up on stage and I'm always thinking, okay, what's better? What's a better way to tell this joke? What's another way to do this? Should I be upright? Should I lean in? I'm doing all, again, like I'm going back before, like I'm constantly thinking of how to tell the joke better. And sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you could do so much, you could tell a joke, you could skin a cat so many different ways, but nobody likes to see you skin a goddamn cat because that's a house pet. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta do something else to get the audience on your side again. So then you just do it again with something else, and it works like gangbusters. And you talk about something else, and you constantly write. A lot of, you know what's weird too? Talk to a lot of comics, they don't write much. They just go and do the same shit that they used to do like months and months and months and months ago, and they're not evolving. Like, that's a big no-no for me. Like, you have to get up and find, like, I know it's hard with work and everything, but you gotta find it, like, even if it's like on your way home from work, when you're sitting on the subway or you're going on the bus or driving home, or not driving home. Don't fucking write jokes when you're driving home. But when you're home and you got that little few minutes before you go to bed, just try and write like 5 to 7 jokes a day. Like, that's what I do. Is I used to, like, when I first started writing comedy, I would exhaust myself. I'd be like, write more jokes, and your brain just goes, I'm fucking done. Like, I can't find anything funny anymore. Like, and I realized that the only way to do it and not exhaust myself was to do 5 to 7 jokes a day. Even if they suck. Even if they're jokes you're never going to show the world ever or do it on a stage or anything. It's just 5 to 7 jokes that you put on paper, and then you go again on the next day. You just write 5 to 7 jokes. Doesn't matter if they suck. You don't care. Just what you're focused on is, when I get the surprise that I get the audience, you know, when I give the audience, is this surprise big enough that makes me laugh? Or, you know, can I play with this more? Those are always interesting. Jokes that you write and then you're like, but if I do it like this, it'll work. And you write that again, and you're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. You can write that. And there's certain jokes that the more you write, the better you're going to get. And the better you are as a writer, the more confidence you're going to get on stage. And then the more confidence you have as a writer actually propels you to be better on stage, because now it's like, okay, I have this great joke, but can I say it this way? Can I do it this way? Can I do it that way? Can I do it in an accent? Or can I do it like this or like that? Or do it in a different angle? And now your brain is firing on all cylinders, because now you're making a good joke better. And something like my favorite, the day that you know, like the thing that makes me laugh the most, like the thing that makes me happiest, is when I take a shitty joke and I rewrite it in a different way and it kills. And that makes me so fucking happy. You have no idea the joy that brings me. It's like, I took something that was crap and I made it into, you know, I took coal and I made it into pearls. Like, it's just, yes. And there's nothing beats that, man. Nothing. And I've done movies, I've done fucking novels, and nothing feels like the same way. You don't get the same joy. Because the joy isn't just, yeah, I killed, I wrote this great scene, but, actors need to get paid and they're not going to sit in a room with you and read a fucking scene. But when you go up on stage and you say that joke and it fucking works and you know it works because people love it, it's like, fuck yes, like you fucking, you're on a bigger high than you can possibly imagine, man. Like that's the kind of shit that you're like, yes, yeah.
So, your influences would just be Louis.
I like
Chris Rock.
Yeah, Chris Rock a lot because he does. If you look at his sets, his bits are all about one subject matter, but they're attacked in different angles. So he's looking at things he's looking at one subject matter in multiple directions. And when he gets up on stage, he'll talk about one thing, like women can't go down socially, and he'll do jokes about like how when you go on a date with a woman and then she has to put her hand in her pocket to get her wallet out to pay for the food. It's like there's something in her head that's like, this guy's not worth it, this guy's not worth it, And it has multiple jokes about how women can't go down socially, and it's such a great bit. And you're like, wow, how did he come up with like 6 or 7 jokes about one thing? Like that's the kind of level of writing that I want to get to, where right now I'm focusing like on sets of like different jokes, but I have enough like disabled jokes that I can do a bit about disability, about being disabled. But but I'm always afraid to do that because I don't want to give them exactly what they want, because then that's boring. Because if I go up there and I talk about disability, it's kind of like a woman going up there and talking about relationships. It's exactly what they think of you. And so I have to find a new way to make a different bit, like a new subject matter to talk about. And that's more important to me. Like, I'd rather go up there and not address disability at all. But I know I'm going to have 1 or 2 idiots in the audience that are like, he's crippled. So I have to get it out of the way first and then move on. And the thing about the sign language joke, which I know you love, and if you've seen it, it's on YouTube. So they can look it up when they type in my full name. The joke is so aggressive, and it's so in your face about it. Like it's just like, yeah, I'm crippled. Here's me doing another cripple shit, and it's just like, and the thing about that joke is I've played it short and I've played it long, so I've done it quick, and then I'm like, oh damn it, I fucked up the S. But when I play it long, dude, it is so. Like the look on the person's face, you can tell who's really uncomfortable with disability. When I do that joke, I can tell immediately because they're just shocked. They're just shocked. They'll look away, or they're like, oh. I'll hear a gasp in the audience, and it's just like, oh, it compels me to go 5 minutes to do that. I can stand up there on stage and just do 5 minutes of like, sir, what's your name? Or I'm gonna do that, and just keep going.
Oh, that's great.
And it's
that would
just
be funny.
That would just kill. That would kill me. But it would make the audience so uncomfortable. It's like you want to get the audience to feel a little bit of uncomfortability, but you don't want to do it too much because then they're just turned off by it. So it's like I do it enough to get a gasp, and then I'm like, okay, I got my gasp, and move on. And it's like, okay, guys, so now this is another subject matter. Oh, man. I love doing that shit. If I can do jokes where I can just make them uncomfortable and prick all their little lines and shit. Oh, my God. That's my dream one day, is I get them to, like, I hate calling back to that joke, but it's so fucking good. The one about the crying woman, I can't stop for every crying woman in Brooklyn, otherwise I'll never get home. It's such a brilliant joke.
Thank you.
Because it's so fucked up. And it's about a dark subject matter that no one touches. It is taboo. And you touch it, but you don't touch it, you touch it with a feather, and you're like, alright, moving on. And it's so brilliant. Like, dude, I laughed my head off when I heard that joke for the first time, man. And you know me, you know when I fucking laugh.
Yes,
like,
you have one of the best. I'm glad we got to bring it up. Because
Thanks,
yeah, you got it too. I'm glad we got to bring it up because there's a few people that have distinct laughs. Obviously, nobody has a laugh like yours, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But it's always like sometimes there's certain people, and you're definitely one of them, obviously, that where a lot of times I'll laugh just because I hear your laugh.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know how when you're friends with somebody and just them finding something funny, like I don't know why, like it just strikes me like so many times where I'll be like, because there's a lot of times where like anyone that I don't know if you specifically said it, but anyone that checks out your comedy would know that you have a dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Very, very dark. Not. I'm trying to think. Do you consider all of your jokes to be dark in some way? I don't. I'm trying to think if there's.
I try and be as light, but like the way I want to do it is I want to touch on dark subject matters, but through light humor. Like not be so serious, but like like the way like for your joke that was brilliant because it was like you're just trying to get home, but you touched on rape, and it was so shocking, and it was such a great twist because it was like you're just like trying to get home in Brooklyn, and it's such a brilliant setup and it's a great premise setup punchline kind of stuff that is so hilarious, and you didn't even set it up. It was that was the punchline in and
I
of
wasn't
itself.
necessarily even intending it to be rape when I wrote it.
Oh, dude!
No, I
Come
didn't.
on.
It was definitely some. I had more pictured it of like a guy hitting his girlfriend. Like it's definitely domestic abuse, but it wasn't rape in my mind.
Oh, dude! Come on! I
understand that people make that connection.
I
but
jumped to that like immediately, and I fucking died. I was dying when I heard that. I was like, dude, that is brilliant. But I'm in the same boat as you, which is I love talking about dark stuff, but letting the audience jump to that, and rather than me, because there's a problem with comics because they look at Family Guy, or they look at later versions, like they'll look at Family Guy, they'll look at American Dad, where it's very blunt, like the humor is just very blunt, it's in your face, and it's like, ta-da, here it is, it's all this, bah, and it's like given to you. And I don't like comics like that because they don't set up anything, and it's just like, well, it's about this subject matter and this thing and this thing, and it just doesn't have the same kind of like, it's like, oh wow, you threw this on me, like it's kind of like, it's like if a waiter like gracefully presents you something, you know, like a and then another waiter comes in and just plops the fucking food on the floor. Like, here's your fucking food. Eat it, you piece of shit. Like, like that's the kind of, like, that's why I don't like blunt humor, because it's just like, here it is, go fuck yourself. And, like, I hate that. I like it when I get a dinner and a show. I love that. I personally love that. It shows that the person has the patience to trust the audience to go on this journey with them. And I think when a lot of comics that are new, they'll be blunt because they don't think they have the time to do it.
Right.
And I think that's not fair to them, and they're shortchanging themselves. And they should always give their jokes the amount of time they need to do it right. Because a lot of people, they just want to get it out there and just blah. And it's like, that doesn't work. Like, that's kind of my thing. That's how I view like blunt humor. It's just like, you just didn't care. You just was like, I want to say something nasty, you know, and then just get off the stage. And it's like,
no craft.
Yeah, there's no craft.
And you appreciate the craft, obviously.
I do.
Yeah.
I love craft. I loved any artwork that takes time, and I don't go to the museum much. Like, I don't look at art like that. I'm not an art guy. I don't go to galleries and stuff. But when I do go there, which is on rare occasions, I'll look at artworks and I'll look at the paintings and how they different brushstrokes and what they mean. You know, like, does it mean that the guy was angry, or the painter was angry, or happy, or full of joy, or full of sadness, and what are they painting, or what's the subject matter? Like, that's kind of like how I view all forms of art. What are they trying to say? And blunt stuff just I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like I don't, just doesn't, it doesn't, I don't feel anything for that. It's just like they just want to do it because it's there.
Well, it's almost that there's no consideration for you as the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? More like it's just self-indulgently being like, here's my idea. Yeah. And they're not even taking the time to present it to you in a way that makes it more interesting.
Yeah, and they're not even trying to set it up as a joke. Like, they'll just try and just give you an idea. Like, they'll say, well, I have a rape joke, and automatically the audience is like, whoa, rape's not funny. But if you do it like George Carlin, where he does a rape joke about a dog, I think, right?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I like George Carlin, but I'm forgetting the joke that he had about the dog. You know, a rape joke about a dog, and I forgot. Damn it! But anyway, yeah. But
I see.
Yeah, like he did it as a premise, setup, punchline joke, and it works. Strangely, like, other comics have other jokes about darker shit. Like, Louis C.K. had a joke about, like, well, if somebody has a peanut allergy.
Oh, yeah.
A kid with a peanut allergy. And then the audience was like, whoa. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. You were with me all the way until here. So don't you fucking back out on me. That's brilliant. Like, that was so good. And that joke works because he set it up. He did the premise, which is he talked about darker shit before. Mm-hmm. Then he set it up with kids with a peanut allergy. And then the audience was like, oh, shit. And then the delivery is like, what if we give them peanuts and there's no more peanut allergy? And it fucking works. And it's such a dark way to look at stuff, but it's so funny because he took the time to give you the dark humor. And even Sarah Silverman has, like, a joke about diamonds and how it's craft from, like, African babies. But she has, like, the setup, and she's like, but I don't support them because their workers aren't unionized. But the whole, that kind of joke, like, that's a dark joke, but that works because she took the time to give you exactly what she thought of these particular diamonds. But the worker, like, she loves the diamonds, but she can't support the diamonds because the workers aren't unionized. But they come from African babies, mm-hmm. which is hilarious. And, like that's what I love to write. Like, that's the kind of joke that I love to write. The beer joke is, like, I hope the beer joke is up to that level, but it's like other works, like, I hope all my jokes are up to that level, where I'm able to give them something that is a surprise and worthy of the 5 minutes, even if it's just 5 minutes. I want to give them something that I think is the best of my material. Like, that's another thing too, is like a lot of people will just write and then they'll present everything, and it's like, no. Out of those 5 to 7 jokes, you take the one that gets your passing grade and you put it on the set. Don't just put everything. I have jokes that are in my notebook that I don't want people to see. They're horrible. They're fucking terrifying. If somebody were to go through a comics notebook, you would think they're Mel Gibson, because they're just racial. Everything's racist. Everything's sexist. Everything's like, what if a woman decided like to be a man or something? And it's just like, ew, and then just like, oh my god, it's like, is this a guy that's 13, or is this like a serious adult? And it's like, holy shit, like, I wouldn't want anybody to go through my notebook. I can let alone imagine other comics with their notebooks and the dark shit that goes in there. It's like serial killer, like that. There was a comic that you met this comic that has a joke about like serial killers and comics kind of have the same MO with writing. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't think so.
He has a bit about like how serial killers that write stuff on their notebooks almost match.
Oh no, I never heard that.
What a comic writes for jokes. He's like, it must be like a manifesto kind of style of writing. And I fucking died. I was like, that is so true. I laughed my ass off over that because I'm like, yep. If somebody read my notebook, they're like, definitely serial killer. There's no question. Oh my god.
Oh wow, good. We got good time. Alright, I'm gonna wrap it up with this question. It's like something I don't even know if you've ever thought about it. Like, and I just thought of it like over the course of the interview. Because honestly, like I said, like I never think of you as a disabled person at all because it never comes up. Like it's never like, you know what I mean? Like you're obviously you're very you've adapted to it very well and everything, and also you decided to not make it a big deal. You know what I mean? So that it's not, and you have obviously you're very strong-willed. But do you think of on any level of yourself as a comic of representing disabled people in any way, like to show like the way that you just get up on stage and grab the microphone and you just grab the microphone and you have the microphone and it's perfectly in position and you don't need anybody to hand it to you, you know what I mean? Like, not that it would be wrong if if you had no arms, you know what I mean? But like, do you feel like on some level that you're, not that it's your job, but like that it's sort of your task to break down what people's preconceived notions might be?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, it's the same with like any comic that's like a woman or, you know, any minority figure, that they wanna present themselves and also elevate. Like, that's the thing with Dave Chappelle, was like he wanted to elevate what black comedy was at that time.
Yeah. And
Amy Schumer is also trying to like make female comics, you know, present it in a different light, and all these other comics that came before her, you know. And I feel like there's not a lot of disabled comics out there. I only know of two, Josh Blue and Chris Fonseca. And actually, no, I know a third one, but he's like, when he was performing, he was 15 and he was in the UK, but I haven't heard of him do comedy since. And he was a kid that was on UK's Got Talent, and my brother showed me him, but all of his sets were just jokes about being disabled. And I couldn't really rip on him because he's like 15, but he's the only, you know, young guy in the UK doing this. And I don't know if he's still doing it. I hope he is, because, you know, that would be awesome. But, yeah, man, I always feel like I do keep that in mind. Like, I'm probably the only disabled comic doing this. And I actually met another disabled comic while I was doing the NBC auditions, and I was like, wow, man. And he had great jokes that weren't just about being disabled. We talked, and it was really shocking. It was like, wow, I'm not the only one out here doing this. Because, like, for me at least, I feel like I'm the only one doing it. Like, I'm the only disabled comic out here. It's kind of like, you know, I have to sort of build a level where I can get people to think that, okay, it's not just one thing. And I feel like if I break into stand-up comedy and I become big, it'll be easier for the other people. Like, that's what I'm always thinking, is like, how can I make it easier for the other guys or the other girl? What if there was a female disabled comic? What is she gonna say? Like, how interesting is that gonna be? Like, her perspectives must be huge. And just talking about all these different stuff, that's what I always feel like. I always bring that in mind too. Like, I always feel like, how do I make my image better? How do I do that better? Because that's kind of my fear, is like, I don't want to like just have it be like cripples, yay, like that would just kill me. Like, it wouldn't satisfy me, and it wouldn't satisfy the audience, because they know it doesn't satisfy me. And I think that's really the problem. And that's why I hated when people like went over to Dave Chappelle's show and were like, fuck your couch. It's like, that's not the point, dude. Like, that's not why he's here. Like, he's trying to do better shit. He's trying to get better. And I think that when you have any comics that's different, you know, whether they be in a wheelchair or they're, you know, they come from different backgrounds or different things, It's about making your image better. Like, how do you project yourself on stage? Like, how do you hold yourself? And what are you talking about? Like, people don't understand, like, what you're saying is just as important as how you present it, because it's going to reflect on you. Like, if, comics that are women, I feel like we were talking about this earlier about women comics and how we're, like, you know, very supportive, because we know that there's probably people that they've met or bookers or agents that they've talked to. They're like, why can't you talk more about relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? Like, that's all they're going to talk about? Like, that's all they're interested in? You know, like, for me, it's always like, I always get asked questions that, like, sometimes I'll talk to a booker or an agent, and they'll talk to me for a little bit, and then they'll bring it up, like, so how were you disabled? And I was like, I was just born like this. It's like, oh. Like, they were expecting, like, this huge fucking story where I'm like, yeah, I was in Iraq, and I was trying to save my buddy from a grenade, and it just went off. I'm so glad it didn't get my face, and it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me?
That's fucking funny, man.
Yeah, man.
You could use that.
Oh, definitely. I wrote a bit, but I never used it, about, like, if I was in a war film, I would be the guy whose wife just had a baby.
Oh, man.
Who literally is going to be on the beaches of Normandy during World War II. Who opens the big container that holds up, and his arms immediately just blow off. It's just
because it wouldn't be hard for them to, like, fashion, like, a prosthetic or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And it just blows
that
off.
That would be so funny that, like, the real arms are the special effect.
Yeah. It'd be great. Like, I'll just be talking to the guys. So, your first time? Yeah. I've seen action, guys. I've seen action. All right. Did you know my wife just had a baby? It's a little girl. I think I call her Amelia. All right, here we go, guys. And they just fall in the water and die of blood loss.
Oh, man.
Because I always, like, every war film has that one fucking guy, man. We Were Soldiers has it. Fucking Vin Diesel's character in Saving Private Ryan. Fucking, what else? Hell, Black Hawk Down. Orlando Bloom's character. I'm only 18, sir. I'm only 18. He's the youngest guy in the mission, and he fucking dies in, like, the first.
I think in Platoon, I think it's the same thing.
Oh wait, let me see Platoon. I'm thinking about Platoon now.
Does what's his name die in Apocalypse Now? Does Lawrence
the fat guy?
die?
Yeah, the fat guy in Platoon.
There's always somebody.
Yeah, there's always some fucking asshole that dies first.
Somebody's got to die first.
Yes, but it's like. But they do it as it's almost like a joke. Like, they have their platoon, and then the one idiot, it's like in a horror movie where it's like, I'll be back, I'm just gonna go get beer. It's like, we know you're dead. And it's like they just say, like, oh yeah, I got a wife and I got babies at home, and it's like, you're fucking dead.
They always say the most benign statement before they die.
They say the most sympathetic statement.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah,
oh, it's okay. He's just a little fella. And then all of a sudden a bullet comes out of nowhere and, like, blows his fucking head off.
But, like, that's the kind of thing that's what really like scares me, man. Is like I'm always thinking about image, because I'm always thinking about the other disabled comic. Like, even though I never see them, and I feel like I'm the only one in the grind doing it, except for this other guy who lives in Connecticut, who I just met a few days ago, and he does disabled humor as well, but he does it in Connecticut. And it's like, you know, it's kind of weird, because when you do it by yourself, when you're the only disabled comic in the village that you know of, like, it's kind of like the grind is like, it's different towards everybody else. Like, I feel like if I was anything else, it would have been different. I would have had a different experience. But I feel like since I'm my own self, you know, I feel like it's lonely, because it's just me. You know, if it's just me, then you know, it's kind of, you get those questions a lot in your head, like dark questions, like why that, why do you keep going, what's going on, and it's just like you gotta be motivated, you gotta like put those questions aside because those aren't helpful questions, and you just gotta keep going. You know, you can't just be like, well, what if I was somebody else? What if I was different? What if I was the same? And then you wouldn't be funny. Then it wouldn't be you. Then you can't be funny. Like I've had questions before, like, so why didn't you just get prosthetic arms? It's like, have you ever tried to hold a mic with prosthetic arms? It's just like, it's just gonna sound so weird and awkward. And I've had people tell me like the when we talked about it earlier about like putting my hands behind my back, I thought I was gonna go back to that same club and do my entire set in a burqa, and just do the same set, not change a line of it, not address the burqa, but just like, here's a disabled comic. I had a host tell me that it's distracting that I grab the microphone. Dead ass in a different club. Distracting.
That ain't right.
Yeah, man. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh man, I've had like encounters with different people that, dude, man, you don't get it. Like, oh, you can get it. I'm not a believer in like, you know my story, man. Like, you can. You just have to explain it. You know, and it's like, I've had people tell me, like, I've had people feel uncomfortable, like, I'll have people move shit over, like, it's the little things that get you. It's like people shuffling their seat in the next train ride, you know, or moving their shit, or girls that'll lean this way, lean closer to the other side when you sit, you know, it's just, you know, it's stuff like that really gets you, because then you're not part of the pack.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's why I do comedy, is to get over that and be like, all right, fuck them. When I get up on stage, I'll be with all of you guys, and I'm with you. Another person that I've found, another comic, you know, speaking of laugh, to end on a high note, because we just went dark for a second, I want to bring up another person that has a really funny laugh is Justin.
Oh, Angermeyer.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I fucking love his.
He's got a good one.
I love his laugh so much that he's a guy that, and he does it, like, what I love about him is, like, what he does terrible, it sounds so fucked up, but it's so true. If you ever see him, like, not do it, like a joke doesn't land right, he'll just go, well, huh, and he'll just go on to the next one, and it just kills me. It just fucking kills me. So and I'm so mad at that, because I'm like, he makes, like, that shit right there.
He's just as funny when he's not funny.
Yes.
That's what it sucks. That's why he's so difficult, because it's like, even when he, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. But when he does that laugh, I laugh so hard, and it's like, he did that once. Like, he went up on stage before me, and he's like, I know my jokes work because I make Chris laugh, and I start laughing, and he starts laughing too. So the whole room just starts laughing, and then he sat, like, I remember another time I was up there, and he sat, like, right where you were, like in the Village Lantern, the side thing, and he sat right there. And I just started directing jokes towards him. I'm like, I'm just trying to make you laugh. And he just starts bawling laughing. And I had to, like, stop for a second, because his laugh was, like, making me laugh, and I wasn't able to do my set. And I tanked, I think, that day. And it was just like, fuck it. I made him laugh, and it made me laugh. And it was just, like, great. Oh, man.
Cool, man. All right, well. Woo! Okay, so your Twitter is...
Oh, it's
your plugs. Your Twitter is what?
My Twitter is at Cresposts, which is my last name. I just put STS on it. It's CRESPOSTS.
Cool. And you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I put the YouTube channel on my Twitter, so when you look up my Twitter, it's like you can click on that and it'll send you straight to the Twitter. I mean, to the YouTube.
Do you have a website, or you just?
I have a website. It's like it's a Tumblr page, but It looks like it's under construction because I just set it up.
Okay.
So it's like I'm gonna put all the videos up there too.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm really just
Fun
working
to
on. Yeah. I'm really just working on the YouTube, and trying to get my Twitter.
Cool. Great, man. All right. Well, thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah, man.
It was a lot of fun, and yeah, man. See you in the clubs, I guess. I don't know how to end it. So.
All right, guys. That wraps up the first episode of A Podversation with. Thanks to y'all for listening. Thanks to Chris for being part of the process. You guys can check me out on Twitter at Josh Paladini, on Facebook, on YouTube. Muggies, MUGGIES 247 is my channel. And that's it, man. Stay tuned. We'll see you real soon.